The non-temporality of modern day internet and how it seems to affect or change the dynamic of how we react to reality and time. Now, in another situation, if I said something to you and whatever I said to you was still negative than you, then at that point you would have a kind of unfavorable dynamic. There'll be a dent in our relationship and our perception of each other wouldn't be exactly at the best point. Now, usually in cases like that, time evolves and time evolves and also memory fades. So memory fades and what at that particular moment had seemed to be a major um dent or problem in our relationship would eventually usually evolve and wouldn't matter in most cases as it did as in the moment that it happened. Now, this happens for numerous reasons, and I think part of it is because our memory isn't good enough to hold on to certain things for that long. And if emotionally we build more things upon that which happened, then it's easy to forgo and ignore and transcend whatever was said, what was done in the past. So in that sense, climate reality is very much very block to block. It's people might say it's linear, and it is somewhat linear, but I think it's more block to block. Like a linear block to block where each block is more powerful than the previous block, and each previous block is less powerful the more new blocks come along. So eventually old blocks just wear off, and new blocks are the ones that have the most important base. Now, the problem or the difference on the internet is that there's this lack of evolution. There seems to be like a time doesn't seem like a block that fades away, rather it's a block that remains. So on the internet, something exists on the internet today. It's not seen differently than something that existed on the internet as 5 years ago. And this is very prominent because this shows itself in our modern reality where um somehow, some way, somebody clips or grabs something that somebody else has said, and the reaction towards that thing that was said or done is more or less a reaction to the thing as though the thing just happened. There is no respect to time, not respect, there is no experience of blocks fading off, there is no dismissal, there is no evolution in that sense, in this manner. As when those things come into light, they are not seen as the blocks that faded off, rather than seen the blocks that are new. And because of that, the reactions you get towards those things are different from a reaction you get to something that happened at the same time period. So if I tell you something happened 5 years ago from a person, you know, even just the importance of it would just seem very minute. But if I show you something that someone did 5 years ago, someone said 5 years ago, the reaction is much more amplified because the experience of that thing is as pure as what you're experiencing. And the experience of that thing is as pure as what's happening in the present. Because when you watch something and you hear something being said, you're not hearing that thing being said as though time has elapsed. You're hearing that thing being said in the present. And because of that, we react to it as though it was in the present that this thing was done ourselves. Is this a problem? No, I think it's relatively unfair. Because I think in cases like this, what happens is we don't permit the assumptions which we do in real life reality that people evolve, people change, and those things don't matter anymore. And we act on things that should be obsolete. We act on those things that should have gone out. We act on them as if they were true today. If someone said something, example, someone said something racist 5 years ago. If I knew someone said something racist and I knew the person who said something racist 5 years ago, I could have much more interaction with that person to know in the 5 years that have passed since that event. And the person has grown and he has changed and he doesn't engage in such things anymore. But if it was the internet and someone posted something racist 5 years ago, the resurfacing of that thing will be acted upon as though the agent, the person who said it 5 years ago, still holds to certain beliefs, still does do certain things. And I think it's somehow problematic because it is not a true reflection of how things really are or how things really work. I think it leads to this unfair treatment of someone. You treat someone by who they were when they had certain beliefs, and you know, we could easily just look at ourselves as the biggest examples. None of us are who we were 5 years ago. I mean, we were completely different people. But unlike most people, we don't have information about who we were 5 years ago floating around on a fixed space in the internet that can easily resurface. Because if we did have those things, people might see us in a particular way in which we are not. The problem, yeah, is that because of the nature of the presentation of the image or the content of the media or the text, the presentation of it is as though the person is saying certain things now. Thus, we react to those things. We cannot separate. We seem to be incapable of separating who the person is now and the post the person made a long time ago. And then we treat the person as though the person was all that time back is an actual true reflection of the person who he is. We complex, we lose track of time and we think, well, if that's what we did 5 years, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7 years ago, then that is what he is, and we need to go against that. Whereas that person could have easily shaded those beliefs, could have easily evolved, and could easily change his ways. So I think there's an unhealthy bias from cancel culture and things like that where there's an over reliance on the there's an over Um, there's a consistent attitude of conflicting all said, always done some time ago with what is happening, what is currently in the happening, with who someone is compared to who they were. And yeah, I think that's about it.